Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, a channel about making computer role-playing games using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. In this video, I would like to continue talking about my current project of coding the combat system for a viewer's game. In particular, we are dealing with ammunition. So you can see that I have started a combat here. I have a pistol. I've fired a shot, and so the pistol has ammunition of 4, and I've gone into my inventory, and we can see there's some new information here. The science gun and the pistol are both equipment or weapons that use ammunition, and they now have how many shots are left in them. And if I swap this pistol for one of these two, then the ammunition should also swap. So let's try that. If I equip to main hand, we see that I now have the pistol with ammo 5, and the pistol with 4 shots left is now in the inventory. Similarly, I can equip the science gun, or I can get the pistol back, and the ammunition sort of follows the pistol around, which of course is what would happen in real life because the ammunition is inside the weapon. So that is the new thing that I have added, and as usual I want to spend the rest of the video showing you the code that allows this to happen. So because weapons in the inventory can now have how much ammunition they have stored with them, we need to have a variable to do that, specifically in an array. So we already have the array inventory. It's a 2-dimensional array. One dimension being what character are we talking about, and in this game the enemies don't have ammunition, so it's only the player character and their companions. And the other dimension being slots in the inventory. So all we do is we add this new array called inventory_ammo, and each slot in inventory_ammo relates to the same slot in inventory. So inventory_ammo 06 relates to inventory 06. And it's the amount of ammunition left in that weapon if it's a weapon that uses inventory. The way that, as a matter of fact, the way that I've set up the code, it actually does have a value for weapons that don't use ammunition. But that value is sort of hidden. It's never displayed or used or referred to. So effectively, that ammunition level might as well not exist, even though it is actually keeping track of it, simply because it's easier to do that than to distinguish which ones need to have a value and which ones don't. So when we're setting up the inventory array, making it 2-dimensional with this for loop that goes from 0 to com_max, we set inventory z equal to an array, and we do the same thing to inventory_ammo for the same reason. When we're setting up the inventory for each character, if we end up putting a weapon in that particular slot that we're looking at, then we also give it some ammunition. Again, this is true even if it's a machete or a grenade, something that doesn't actually have ammunition, but that in those cases we're never going to see that, so it doesn't matter that we're doing that. And why set it to 5? Because that's just a number that I picked. To be honest, I don't know what the viewer whose game this is going to be wants to do, and I will change what I've done based on their instructions, as always. In some cases, I'm pretty sure this is wrong. Like, I don't think you can have 5 shots in a shotgun. I'm pretty sure a shotgun has only 1 or 2 shots. I don't know how many shots a machine gun would carry, for example. But, you know, I had to have some sort of number so I could test it, and I just decided to go with 5. I guess just because that's the number that I had already chosen for the pistol that all of the player character and their companions start with. Of course, it's possible that the viewer might want it to be the case that when you find a weapon, it doesn't have ammunition and you need to sort of find the ammunition separately. I don't know. But anyway, just for testing purposes, it's set to 5. And of course, this, as this note says, this is just setting up for test purposes. This is not how the game will work. It won't generate a character with inventory. I think they're just going to start with a pistol. All right, so we've set up everyone. The other thing we need to do is display the amount of shots left, if relevant. And the other thing we need to do is we need to move the ammunition around when we move weapons around. So we've got this bit of code that I've already shown you where after we print the name of the weapon in the inventory screen, we note that it's two-handed when that's relevant. And this works almost exactly the same. We look at WEA_OVR, which is weapon overview, and the first dimension is inventory 0Z, so the Z slot of the player character's inventory. What is Z? Well, we're just going through each slot in inventory. We print every slot of the inventory that has something in it. So the first dimension of this WEA_OVR is what weapon are we talking about, and then we look at slot 4. Slot 4 is one that I spoke about in a previous video. It is generated by the code, and it is either 1 or 0, and it's 1 if we're talking about a weapon that uses ammunition. So if it's a weapon that uses ammunition, then we print bracket inventory _ ammo 0Z. Oops, I think I accidentally, there. Inventory _ ammo 0Z shots. So it will say something like 2 shots, 3 shots. This code as written actually will say 1 shots, which is a bit of a, what's the word? It's a bit clumsy, of course, because that's not how the English language works. But I suspect that the viewer whose game this is probably going to want something visual anyway, or they're probably going to want to change this display anyway. So I didn't bother. What I'd normally do is I'd have an if it equals, if this value inventory _ ammo 0Z equals 1, then print bracket 1 shot, end bracket, and if it's any other value, 0 or more than 1, then print that number shots. But this will do as a placeholder. It tells you how much ammunition there is anyway. All right, so the final thing we need to do is move the values around. And this is fairly simple. We do this on the equip page. This is a page where which we go to from inventory. And we have a temporary variable X, which tells us whether we're equipping into our main hand or our offhand, and therefore whether we're going to use the weapon array and the ammo array, or the offhand array and the ammo _ offhand array. So this is the case. If X equals 1, that's when we're swapping into our favoured hand, our main hand. And then this down here is swapping into our, this down here is swapping into our offhand. So this line here is where we swap the weapons. Set, and then we have this square bracket. This is this simpler way of swapping, which I have been informed about recently, and which I've started to use, and I've started to sort of, when I see it, I've sort of started to change the 3-line code that I was using before, which does work, but it's sort of less compact and less good. So set square bracket, weapon 0, inventory 0Z, end square bracket equals square bracket, inventory 0Z, weapon 0. So basically swap weapon 0 has the old value of inventory 0Z, and inventory 0Z has the value of the old value of weapon. In other words, they swap. So just as we swap the weapon and the inventory, we swap the ammo and the inventory ammo. And then down here, it's exactly the same, except instead of weapon, we have offhand, and instead of ammo, we have ammo offhand. And that means that whenever a weapon is swapped, whenever a weapon is swapped, its ammunition will swap as well. The ammunition sort of follows around the weapon, which makes sense because physically the ammunition is inside the weapon, so of course it would come with it. And that is how we do that. So now we've pretty much dealt with ammunition as it relates to the player character. We do have to do ammunition as it relates to the companions. We have to make sure that they don't shoot when they don't have any ammunition, and we also need to deal with the player character ordering them to change their weapon, which is a feature that the viewer wants to have. And we also need to have some way of the player character knowing what the companion has in their inventory. And those are the main. I mean, there's some other things we need to do before the project is finished, but that's probably the sort of main thing that's missing, I suppose. And that's probably what I'm going to start looking at next. But I will leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.